to welcome our speaker for today. And as I mentioned, is none other than the Commission Secretary, the Chief Executive Officer of the NCIC, the National Commission for Integration and Commission. And her name is Dr. Skitter Mbugua, and soon you will see her. And I just want to say a few things about Dr. Mbugua. If you look at her CV, I am sure that for many of us here, and particularly for you interns, is the kind of CV you would say, when I grow up, I would like to have a CV like that. Dr. Mbugua is many things. Some of you actually would have met her in several universities that she has been in. She is an academic. She is a Doctor of Philosophy in Physics from University of Eldoret, a Master of Philosophy in Physics from Moi University, a Master of Business Administration from Strathmore University, and a bachelor degree in Education Science, Physics and Chemistry from Egerton University. And prior to the appointment of her current role as a Commission Secretary in the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, she held a number of positions, particularly working as a CEC or as a minister in charge of trade, tourism, and industry at the county government of Kisii. And she held the same portfolio as a CEC for environment, water, sanitation, roads, transport, public works, and then education, labor, manpower development in the same county, Kisii County. She has also been a lecturer, physics department at Masinde Muliro University, and physics and chemistry teacher before that. So as you can see, there are many things you can learn from her, both from the classrooms in terms of physics and chemistry, but also working in the public service at when she was at the county, and now as a Commission Secretary of NCIC. Now, when we sent this invitation to Dr. Mbugua, she mentioned that actually she is SDA and today is her Sabbath. So she should be in church this morning. But she'll tell us that there's something about this internship program and hearing about you interns that made her say that she wants to sacrifice her Sabbath morning to come and be with you. And so, Dr. Mbugua, we are so humbled that you would come and share with us this morning and sacrifice your Sabbath to be with us. We pray that it will be a huge blessing for you as well to meet these interns and the rest of us, and we look forward to what you will share. So Dr. Mbugua, if you can now take the stage, we are looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, our chair of Hesabika Trust, Mr. Wadhanju. I'm really humbled to be here today. And when you are reading my CV, I was like, I did not know that I've gone through all that. But I think when you have God in your life, you always remain focused, and God makes sure that indeed you stay online. I will start first of all briefly by telling you maybe about my background, how I was born, now that Mr. Wadhanju has mentioned about my work, about my training. I will say that I'm a true Kenyan here because I cannot really say that I'm a Kikuyu myself. I cannot say that I'm a Luhya myself. I cannot say that I'm Kisii myself. In fact, I'll tell you that sometimes I'm mixed up on the name to write on my CV. Yes, I was born very many years ago. I don't want to mention how many because that is a secret for ladies, in a remote village in Samburu County. After 2 years, my parents moved to Bungoma. My mother originates from Kiambu, really not Kiambu because the parents came from Gatondo and settled in a place called Kijabe. And my dad is born from Vihiga, he's a Maragoli. And while he was working in Kijabe National Hospital, they came to meet with my mom. So after my birth, 2 years, we moved to Bungoma, where I started my school. And from nursery up to class 8, I was in Bungoma, growing very closely with the Bukusus. In fact, I really understand Kibukusu quite well. Then after that, for my high school, I joined Butere Girls, that is in Kakamega County. And then I worked in Bungoma before moving to Kisii. I got married to a Kisii, and now my children are mixed. They don't even know exactly what tribe they are from. And Mr. Wadhanju has read where I've gone to school, meaning that I've interacted very closely with people from those communities. In Uasin Gishu, I interact closely, and I was a very close friend to Kalenjins. In Njoro, I interacted with Dorobos, where we used to go to our market. I learned a lot on what they do. In my workplace, I've worked with quite a number from every corner in Kenya. And now in NCIC, I've met quite a lot. In fact, this officer who was helping me to prepare these notes for you today is actually from Marsabit, and it was really great. He's a great, great, great man. So sometimes I think it is always proper to look at, people beyond their tribes, not really along their ethnic grounds. So I would say in this forum that I am a true Kenyan. When most of you are writing in the centimeter on what we need to do in order to deal with the monster in the house, majority of you mentioned about intermarriage, which I accept very well, and maybe we shall look at that when we come to the end of the presentation. So thank you so much. I'm really humbled to be here. And I'm also very, very happy to learn that a girl I've known and I've seen growing, Natasha Musyoki, is here. I know her closely. I know the parents. We used to stay together in Bungoma. So Natasha, I'm happy that you're here, and I'm happy that you are really in a very, very safe place. This is actually a good forum to help grow. Mr. Wadhanju also mentioned that this is my day, my special day that I go to church. But because I am so passionate about young people growing, especially young people with an interest in governance, in leadership, that is very dear to my heart, because this is a delicate stage. And when we leave you people like that, then it means that we are not doing service to our future. So it is a great opportunity that I'm here today. It is also a great opportunity for you as an individual in turn to be here today, because it doesn't happen quite often. There are many of the young students who would have loved, in fact, they are confused, they don't know what to do, and they are languishing outside there. So you who have proper mentors and you are in this program, then I'm sure you must count yourself very privileged, and you must be able to keep yourself connected and ensure that you walk through life in a very good way you are expected. Now, I would say that my topic is politics of ethnicity and the challenge of national cohesion. And I'm happy that I was given this topic now that I serve in the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, where Reverend Kobia is the chairperson. He's actually a great mentor to me. I'm learning quite a lot from him, and you have known him if you have read Kenyan history quite well, that he was among those people who were interrupting the government many times to make them think of having multi-partyism in Kenya and forget about the single party nation. So thank you for this privilege, and I'll want to delve into the presentation, and I will start in my introduction by letting you know that when you Google ethnicity in Africa, the first thing that comes to the screen is ethnicity and African predicament, meaning that ethnicity is actually our main undoing, main cause of problems. When you are answering questions in the Mentimeter, I realized that many of you mentioned poverty as a result of negative ethnicity. Some of you mentioned violence and hatred, unfairness, corruption, pure leadership, stigmatization, inequality, and really you are right that that is actually the result of ethnicity. Now, it has a history. Kenya was colonized by British, you remember very well from your history. During the scramble of Africa, many of those European countries were scrambling to get into the African countries so that they can be able to take away the minerals, so that they can take many of the things that they found valuable, including taking away our parents, our forefathers and mothers, to take them to their place so that they can offer services to them as and that was really witnessed a lot. So Kenya was colonized by British, and there is a way that they were able to put the administrative boundaries. To find it very easy for them, they decided to put it along the ethnic lines. And that was a strategy for them because they wanted to use divide and rule. Divide and rule, where they take those ones who are acceptable to their issues, and then they are made to clash against those others who are not agreeing to what they want. So that happened quite a lot. And after independence, this structure did not change at all. It remained the same. You realize that the boundaries that were started with the colonists are still actually the same boundaries we are witnessing today. And unfortunately, even in the leadership of our country, cohesion and integration was not taken into account at all. It was a matter of leadership in terms of collection of money, in terms of directing development, and this found some places left out a lot. We have some other places where people even up to today say that our place, is it that our place is not Kenya? We're not part of Kenya, because they have been left behind quite a lot. Now, when this came, now that the colonists were going away, people started forming groups, we have some group in Moranga which came together, and they started buying land. They started buying land, and they could go to different places and get huge chunks of land. So that is what we witnessed, and a lot of it is still mentioned up to today, that people feel that they are discriminated and the issue of land has not been handled properly. But this one was birthed from the time we were getting independence, when the colonialists were moving away from us. So we had Kenyatta ruling Kenya, and then afterwards we had Moi take over. That is history. I'm not going to enter into that. And during that time, there was a lot of insist in the single party state. So Moi's regime started from 1978 after Kenyatta and up to 2002. And many Kenyans came together and started working and affecting the government a lot, operations of the government, insisting that they want the change of the constitution. There was section 2A, and they wanted it repealed so that it can attract or it can accommodate the multi-party state. So a lot of the civil society came out, a lot of interfaith joined hands, and there was a lot of pressure, both internally and externally, to ensure that now we move from single state to multi-state. We had also the leaders of our country now using the youths, like you remember the youth wingers. The youth wingers were used by Moi to fight or to protect the leadership, so that we don't have a lot of that pressure getting into the president. And that one is actually the birth of now the gangs and the terrorist groups to be used by the politicians just to protect their own interest. Now, in 2002, there is nothing that would have been done. The constitution had been the section 2A of the constitution had been repealed and multi-party was allowed. We saw now the coming of our former president Kibaki. So he took got into the general elections in 2002. And there was a very, very smooth transition. So there wasn't a lot of skirmishes, because you realize that time there are so many tribes that came together. NAC, we were having a phase of Raila there. We had a phase of Charity Ngilu in NAC. We had a phase of Kalonzo Musyoka and many others. They had to come together in order for them to garner support so that they can be able to win the elections, which really happened. So all went on well, but again in 2007, after the elections and after the partnership in NAC could not work very well, Raila went alone, and Kibaki also went alone in the elections, and there was a lot of violence. This violence came up because of the manner in which elections was handled by the Electoral Commission of Kenya then. They could not be able to tell who really won the general elections. So that was really, really a challenge. And that is when we saw a lot of problems coming up in Kenya. 1,300 people lost their lives. Over 6,000 people were displaced. And that is when, if you remember very well, there were people moving from one corner of Kenya to another because they were going back to their indigenous places. In Uasin Gishu especially, there were a lot of fights, and the Kikuyus were really rushed to get out of that place. And I think that is the time when the indigenous people in Uasin Gishu felt that this is the time to get back their land, because there has been an underlying feeling that there have been historical injustices, especially on lands, that people took their lands unlawfully. So they took advantage of that to ensure that they chase away the other groups so that they can maintain their place. So you remember very well that mediators were being looked around from Africa to see those ones who can come to Kenya and help Kenya to solve their issues, to be able to talk to Kibaki, to be able to talk to Raila, so that they can reach an amicable point where now Kenya can run smoothly. So first there was Kosa from South Africa, but Kibaki did not accept on Kosa because he felt that Kosa is a close ally to Raila, and therefore the mediation process would not be very fair for him. There was also a president of Ghana coming in, but that one did not work. They did not feel confident to have him as a mediator. But when Kofi Annan came, he was accepted, and he started mediating between Raila and Kibaki, and they had to start looking at many other issues. So Kofi Annan had support of AU, if you remember, and also the international community supported strongly because they didn't want Kenya to continue the way it is because of the several interests. You can read a lot about Kenya, why many investors, why many international communities prefer Kenya, and you'll come to understand why it is so strategic. So we had a lot of support, and Kofi Annan dealt with the process very well. First of all, he had to identify the agendas, pointed out agendas that for this mediation, that the first thing they need to do is to stop the war, stop the violence, because it was too much. People were being slaughtered. People were done for a lot of bad things. The women were raped and so many bad things were happening. So the first agenda was, how do we end very fast this war? Then the second one was on humanitarian support. How do we cater for those ones who have been displaced, those ones who are now homeless? And then number three was to look at the institutional reforms, to look at how we can have reforms in terms of the constitution, in terms of the police, in terms of judiciary. All that fell under that agenda number three. Agenda number four was to look at how we can have reconciliation. How do we have the teams come together, agree, speak the same language, and agree to work together? So that was on the agenda number four. And that agenda number four is actually what gave birth to National Cohesion and Integration Commission, because after all the mediation process ended and they had agreed, the two leaders agreed to work together. Remember, there was an establishment of the Prime Minister's office, where now Raila went to become now a Prime Minister, and Mwai Kibaki remained a president. So the legislature were left with the function of looking around to see how do they create an institution? How do they ensure that there is a lasting solution to this kind of agreement? So in their wisdom, they thought that it is important to establish an institution that will look at the matters to do with cohesion and integration in the country. So they came up with the National Cohesion and Integration Act of number 12 of 2008, and that is how this institution, where I'm a commission secretary, came into place. You realize that I had mentioned that in the leadership of our country, nothing was mentioned as cohesion. Nobody bothered about cohesion. Nobody bothered about integration, because to them, it was leadership is all to do with directing resources. Leadership had to cover other functions. So after this mediation, it was important that we start as Kenyans to focus on this matter of cohesion. Now, in 2003, there was a grand coalition, and before even 2013, in 2010, Kenya got its new constitution. It is Constitution of Kenya 2010. And in that constitution now, it was made clear that for a president to win in an election, he must have 50 plus 1% of the votes. This one was informed because at one time, President Moi won elections with being the first, of course, and the votes was only 33%. So people were asking themselves, what happens to the 67%? 67% of people did not want this leader to be in power. So that informed the decision of those ones who were preparing the constitution, that it is important for a president, in order to win an election, to have 50+1% of the votes. Now, in 2012, there was a grand coalition. There was a grand coalition where now there was a birth of Jubilee. Jubilee, you remember, we had several of parties come together. We had TNA there, we had other small political parties coming together to now form Jubilee. And that was, it came together like that so that they can actually garner votes, because the issue here is votes. Now, they had to come together so that now they formed that umbrella in order for them to enter into the general elections. So in 2013, there was that grand coalition, and President Uhuru took. Though there was a little of contention, a case was taken to the Supreme Court, and the ruling was in favor of President Uhuru, so he continued ruling. And then in 2017, that is very recent, most of you, I'm sure you are aware of what was happening. We went into the general elections. The results were nullified, you remember. The Supreme Court handled this case. And you remember during that time of confusion, even Raila went to swear himself in with in Uhuru. So, and at the same time, President Uhuru, the other side, is going on with his work as a president. And in that nullification, you remember, the Supreme Court ruled that we must go again to elections, and there was a repeat of that election process. So that came into place, but things were not working very well. And because things were not working very well, then the two leaders, in their own wisdom, came together again and decided to have a handshake so that they can be able to have people come to work together. And then when that was happening, there was a birth of Building Bridges initiative. And this Building Bridges initiative was the intention was to bring people together, people with differences. In case of issues, the issues can be tackled in that. It was also realized that we lack national ethos. The cohesion is status is wanting. So there was that thought that BBI would be able to mend all that. So why am I telling you all those stories? I'm telling you these stories so that we can understand where we are coming from. And even in this making of the Grand Coalition, the intention is actually to garner votes. The intention is not the ideologies that our leaders have, the values they stand for, but it's just to mobilize communities so that they can turn up in huge numbers to vote for them. So that is where we are. And right now, I want to just take you through some theoretical underpinnings. Any paper usually has that. It's just good to understand, where did this matter called ethnicity emanate from? How did it come about? So we have one school known as Primordial School, and in that, it believes that ethnicity is fixed identity from birth. So we all know very well that when you're born, your mother is a Kikuyu, your dad is a Kikuyu, or Kamba and Kamba, Kalenjin and Kalenjin. Automatically, you are a Kalenjin. So by birth, originally, it is formed. So nobody dictates into that. So people fight usually because of their difference in ethnicity. You realize, especially for neighbors, we have Pokot and Turkana. these are people who have grown together, who have lived together for a long time. But because of struggling with a few resources, maybe grazeland, water, and what have you, there is that enmity that comes up. Disagreement comes up because there is little resources. They are struggling for their animals to get water, to get grass, and therefore there is that hatred. There is that hatred because of what they are struggling with. So you realize a lot of times there are so many wars between the two communities just because of them struggling with these little resources. So mistrust is built. So if you see even, for example, you are in Pokot, you are at Pokot, and a Turkana is given leadership, you'll fear first because you tend to imagine that your interests will not be factored in because of how you have been struggling together with these resources. So this primordial school simply says that ethnicity is born. It is something natural you are born with. I'll take you to the second one, which is Instrumentalist School. And Instrumentalist School believe that there is a significance attribute, or rather significant reason to come together so that people can be able to source for power, to have some control, so that people can be economically stable. So the ethnicity in this case, it is used by the elite in order for them to get into power. And when you get into power politically, you are stable, and then economically, you are also up. I want to remind you that most of the times when most of us, for example, want to go for further studies, for example, because we lack funds, usually we go to our community. For example, we have our parents announcing to their friends or to their community that I'll be having a fundraising. My son or my daughter is going for further studies. So they will come together as communities just for them to be able to empower this child of this community. And they believe that this child, when he's get the education, he will come back and assist the community. That is how we were raised up. So a lot of this happens also when somebody, for example, is very ill and wants to go for better medical care. Usually the community comes together, they fundraise, and they're able to get money and take this person to hospital. So there is this window where ethnicity is seen like this is the way, this is how we can be able to get into what we want. So that is a school that is referred to as instrumentalist. I mean, you use ethnicity in order for you to score your goal. Now, in developed countries, you realize that the public hospitals are well taken care of. They are in very good standards, and people don't have to look for private hospitals. What they do is that they go to the public hospitals, they get treated, and they get home. For the schools, they are very good schools there. The standards are very good. They just take their children there and they learn, and after that they are good citizens. They get very good jobs. They serve still in the public schools and hospitals and other places. So you look, you see that is a challenge that we have, for example, in Africa, where we don't invest very well as government into our institutions. And that's why we spend quite a lot of money. We have to really come together in ethnicity to bring our people together so that we can be able to get these things work for us. So that is that for that school. The third school I'll mention is the Construivist School. This one is almost similar to Instrumentalist. And then what they do is that they do not see ethnicity as natural by birth. Ethnicity can be the place you are living, for example, and then there is a way that you can work well with the people around you. I'll give you an example of like the Black Americans in the US. Usually they are not of the same ethnic group, but they count themselves as one because maybe because of their skin color, and because that is not their country of origin. So they take themselves as one. They have found themselves there. So they have to get themselves as a community in order for them to carry out the activities they want here and there. So that is what I'll want to mention. And then there is a situation school. In the situation school, that's the fourth one. It's actually a mixture of all these three we have mentioned about. It includes the primordial, the birth and the natural thing, the instrumentalist, garnering ethnicity so that you can be able to score economically and politically, and constructivist, so that you find yourself in that state. So you have to come together in order for you to get a common goal, or you can be able to follow a thing together so that you are strong. So the other one is the situation, and usually it is actually a mixture of all that we are talking about. Now, what has also aggravated, I would say, is the thing of ethnicity, and how politics take advantage of these, how political parties are organized, is because of the numbers that is supposed to be sorted. When you look at the census that was carried out in 2009, you realize that Kikuyu is the biggest population with 17.15%. Luya has 13.82%. Kalenjin is 12.86%. Luo is 10.47%. Kamba is 10.07%. So you look at most of these political parties we are having around, because they have to get the numbers, they mobilize their ethnicity, so that if it is, for example, the Ford Kenya is Luya, and Luya, a specific area of Luya. Somebody was arguing that Luya is an amalgamation of many Luya tribes in one. It's not a specific one. So you realize that we have Ford Kenya. We also have ANC to do with the Vihiga, mostly Kakamega. So they are set along the ethnic lines, but now the way politics has made them, or rather the constitution has been put, they have to come together. They have to come together in order for them to form numbers. That's why you see a lot of, faces being shown and then coming together. And this is just like, if you see a certain face, automatically you want to imagine that all the Kambas are behind. When you see Luo, you see a certain face, then all the Luos are behind that. So that is what now our society has been made to be. And also looking at these political parties, you realize that they are dominant in a certain area. For example, look at ODM. ODM is dominant in Nyanza. And if somebody wants to be an MP, you have to ensure that you get an ODM ticket in Nyanza. Otherwise, you get another ticket, it's very unlikely for you to win the votes there. So this one has been made to be seriously in terms of ethnic, and we have found ourselves in here because for us, we are not looking at ideologies, we are not looking at values, we are looking at where is my person. When you're doing the centimeter, I saw that there was some percentage, 46% of us today said that we vote along the ethnic lines. The president, we choose our own president from our ethnic group, or maybe the ones we are, collating to or relating to. And then 54% said that it is no. And I'm happy to note that youths are saying that we don't even bother about this ethnicity. So that is where we are, and in terms of those ethnic lines. And I would want to shock you that as we speak now, we have 77 registered political parties in Kenya. The youngest baby in the block is UDA, that was registered recently. And UDA is associated with the deputy president or the Kalenjins. So that is where we are. And I'm told that we have 14 applications which are pending to be registered. And what has been discovered is that people nowadays don't even look for those numbers seriously. They get into a database of a specific organization. They get the names, they get the ID numbers, they get the telephone numbers, and they use that to take to the political party registration. So a lot of due diligence, unfortunately, is not done. So we end up having quite a huge number of these parties. And also you need to note that for a political party to be registered under RPP's office, it has to have a physical presence in 24 counties. So that one is crafted a lot to ensure that they open a few vibandas to have the kind of the physical presence there. So that is where ethnicity has taken us. We are not on ideology, we are not on values, we are just aligned on our ethnic grounds. And that is very, very, very challenging to us. Now, for Ethiopia, if you look at Ethiopia, they have two dominant ethnic groups. We have the Oromo, we have the Amaro. Those ones forms 2/3 of the total population of Ethiopia. So Oromo they are 50 million in number, and Oromo is 37 million in number. So even if there is a very good leader from the small ethnic groups, honestly, they cannot be able to get because they don't have numbers. And most of the African countries, they are aligned in terms of, their ethnic groups. So that is the challenge we are talking about. And I think the earlier we get out of it through the youths, the better is going to be. Recently, we have started seeing in Kenya mobilization along class line. And that is also another thing. And it also poses a challenge, because when it is us versus them, it is another challenge. We know that whenever you go, you see that it is the poor against the rich. And there, poverty is relative. You might have, like, your children are educated, you live in a permanent structured house, and there is somebody who can look at you like you are in low class. So it is really relative, and it's found all over. You've seen a pro box person almost getting burnt to death because maybe has hit a motorcycle rider. So the motorcycle sees that we are the less fortunate, and this pro box owner is a fortunate one. So this again now also poses another challenge. It's very complex now that we are split along the economic lines. So that is what I'll want to mention there, and also say that Constitution now also assisted us in a way by bringing up devolution. We have seen, yes, people are complaining that there are some areas that are not well developed like others. Yes, devolution has come. Funds are trickling in their counties. We have northeastern region counties receiving like 11 billion. That's a lot of money. And they're doing quite a lot of development. But if I ask you individually, you'll tell me the problems that are coming up. There are problems to do with nepotism. You see now, yes, in our counties, this dominant group is getting employment. The minority have been left out, and all that nepotism will start coming up. And development will also be skewed because where this clan comes from, they are more developed, there are more good roads, there are more hospital than others. So we are also having the skewing taking place because of people want to identify themselves with a certain group that will bring them an advantage over the others. A person who is not possibly a good leader, let's say an MCA, let's say even a governor, will stand because he has numbers. Yeah? He will be given the votes, he will get in there and ensure that the development does not reach a certain area. Possibly they did not give him the votes. So we are seeing this challenge coming and bringing up themselves in different forms. So this is the challenge we are having. The counties have brought the clanism issue. Now it's not ethnic because they are almost same ethnic group, but now it comes Wamombi and the other group. In Kisii, there is Omo Nyaribari, there is another thing, Omo Tondo, you know, those kind of things. There is that kind of division going everywhere so that people can have advantage over the others. So it is not a good thing and it is not encouraged at all. I also want to wish to inform you that because of these challenges, also political parties becoming, they are not democratic at all. And you know, you can be a friend of the owner of a political party, and even if you fail in the internal elections, you are given a ticket and you go scot-free. Maybe you're not even a good leader. People don't want you. So in some places, you realize that people have opted to go as an independent candidate, and somehow they are really winning. Like somebody called Honorable Shakir Shabir. He's an Indian married to a Bukusu, and he was given votes. He's now an MP, sits in parliament. He decided to go as an individual because he saw this issue of political parties will not take me anywhere. Maybe there is no way that I'm going to get the ticket. So that is a challenge, and people are coming up with ways to maneuver. Even when you look at the political parties, for example, you realize that the charges that they charge is very exorbitant. Maybe the youths cannot be able to afford to pay for the membership, to pay for the joining fee and all that. So because of that, they cannot be able to join. And people now are more innovative. They're looking at other ways in which they can be able to get into that. So that is that on political parties. And to mention also why, for example, the youths and the women don't get into this political space is that a woman gets there, maybe feels that, yes, I have good values. I know I can lead this community to greater heights, but now wait until those scandals start. Wait until the social media starts to bring up issues about this good woman. These people don't go anywhere. Yes, we have seen the Constitution now saying that we need to have nomination of members. Again, that nomination is not done properly. It is who is who. I mean, who is a friend to who? So the other day there was a debate that the caliber of people who are nominated into national parliament, they are not of that good quality. They don't see the Martha Karua in them. They don't see the Nyiva Mwendwa in them. They don't see Charity Mwendwa in them. So that has been a challenge again. Why? Because we tend to again favor, you know, people in terms of their ethnic grounds, and maybe this person is not good enough. Yes, you have nominated this person. This person cannot even bring a simple bill in parliament. So these are challenges that come up when we do the political parties in terms of ethnicity. A lot of these things is overlooked. So people are saying, yes, women are there, but what are they doing? They're not doing anything. So they are not even being felt. So that is the challenge because of the way they have gotten into those through their affiliation. Maybe they are good allies to some people. So I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, this is a full problem because of ethnicity. Now, I want to delve into factors affecting national cohesion in Kenya. We have mentioned quite a lot. I've explained to you a lot of the ethnicity. Now, what are the main factors? First of all, I'll go into the historical injustices. Historical injustices, I've mentioned to you about the issue of land. When the colonizers went away, when we got independence, I'm told that Kenya was compensated a lot, and many people formed a lot of groups, and people were started buying the groups. I remember in Kisii, where I have worked for a long time, we have an area called Scheme, and that area was occupied by the colonists. It's really a beautiful place. The land there is very fertile. The climate is very good, and there's very good animals there because of the good climate there. So how are people getting this land in Scheme? So they could get a little money, and then they could be allotted spaces. So there was no criteria. I mean, the indigenous people were not returned to occupy the places, but people who could have some money, they could be allotted spaces. Maybe those teachers then, those people were able to go to school because they have some little money, they pay, and then they can be allotted space. So this settling of our people again into the land that was occupied by the colonists was not seen as fair. So people still look at this as historical injustices. We have a specific area where you have huge chunks of land, and they have maybe a person who is not an indigenous from that person. So the indigenous people feel that no, this was an injustice process to give this person a parcel of land. So that one has been something that has been really affecting the national cohesion. And also you realize that when Moi was in power, if, for example, you are in opposition, you are really opposing his leadership, then you are called, and then you are given a parcel of land in maybe Uasin Gishu, and then you can be able to occupy that. And a lot of that happened. So people are feeling that this issue of land has not been addressed well. It is still very it's a thorn, and it's causing and it's affecting the national cohesion. Another thing is the weak institutions. It has been mentioned that we have weak institutions. They cannot stand firmly on the ground. I want to give you an example of the USA. People used to make fun, I'm sorry to use this fun, that even if a dog is the president of the United States of America, the country will still run. Why? Because the institutions are very strong. They are well grounded into good systems, proper systems, and proper structures and proper processes. So it doesn't really matter on who is a president. So in Kenya, the institutions are relatively weak. I would say that also lack of patriotism, because you realize that in the border, for example, the terrorists just pass. They pass through the border and they go through a lot of roadblocks and they get their way inside up to, you know, they get in and they destroy a lot of our infrastructure. So there is that lack of patriotism. At the same time also, corruption, because some of maybe our askari that we have trusted to put in our boundary to shield us from you know, people just getting in and out of the country, they get the little money and then they allow a person, they don't even bother to check what that person has brought in. So that one has also posed a lot of challenges to the national cohesion. The weak security also, I think that one is also another thing that has affected cohesion. We are not shielding our people quite well, or maybe there is a lot of attacks in our police system, and that one has caused, you know, it's a threat to the national cohesion. So corruption has been mentioned a lot of times. If you remember your history very well, we had Golden Bag Saga in 1992. Another one, a big one, we had Anglo Leasing. It was in 2004, corruption. We also had Eurobond Saga, and it was not so good. A lot of money was getting lost. That one is part of what is affecting our cohesion in the country. Now, come to point is that the unequal distribution of resources. You have heard many times in the media, people from different communities says, kwani pwani si Kenya? You see somebody from Wajir, kwani hatuko Kenya, or something like that, because they feel like those ones in Nairobi, those ones in other centers, they're enjoying more facilities than what they are enjoying. So this issue of unequal distribution of resources is a threat to national cohesion. People feel, and they cannot trust a person who comes from a certain area going to their area, because this person, you know, enjoys a different maybe education than ourselves. They enjoy different facility than themselves. Some part of this country, by the way, you realize that it's so difficult to even mothers to go for cesarean section. They have to travel for very long distances. So this unequal distribution of resources poses that challenge. Another thing, and you have mentioned a lot, I saw in the Metimeter, is negative ethnicity. Many Kenyans are voting leaders who do not have proper values just because of their ethnic line. And I saw you mentioned quite a lot on negative ethnicity. You mentioned about tribalism, about greed, about discrimination. You also mentioned about poverty. All those bad things, you are relating it to the negative ethnicity. So I want to say that that one has affected national cohesion a lot. Now, translating concern into action. What do we do? What do we do now that we are faced with this problem? How do we go about it? And I want to go through the results, or through what you wrote in the Metimeter, how best to deal with this monster. Majority of you, in fact, the chairman kept on repeating a lot the intermarriage, which I also concur a lot, is to encourage intermarriage. If you are a Samburu, you don't have to insist that you must get married to a Samburu. Get married to a Luo, get married to a Kamba. And you know, when you do that, we shall have people traveling from one area to another. They get to become a family. They get to learn what these people are doing. They even see, oh, they are not that bad as we thought. So intermarriage will really assist us very well. Kisii bounders Luo land, and when you hear our great-grandfathers, how they used to refer to Luos, they used to give them very bad words. But nowadays, many girls of from Luo have been married by Kisis, and Kisii ladies have been married by by laws. So that kind of barrier is being broken, and people are seeing one another as brother and sister. So intermarriages will really assist. And even you interns who are here today, I want to encourage you. Charles Monywa, don't look at Awangeshi. No, just go and look at Auma. Go and look at somebody else. Interact so that you can be able to kill this thing that has to do with ethnicity. Then somebody also mentioned that practice what we preach. Yes, leadership through example. We don't say stop ethnicity, and we are doing the same. Somebody also mentioned on ethnicity campaign, what NCIC is doing quite a lot, preaching a lot in the media, telling, giving words of encouragement, and encouraging people to stop about this issue of ethnicity. Then inclusive in governance, that's a very important point you raised, that let's have inclusive, everyone getting into governance. Let's not have predominantly a certain group getting into the governance position, or being people who make decisions in organizations or even in the country. Let's have a mixture. Then somebody said implementation of the Constitution. That's very right. If we only implement our Constitution, we shall be out of these challenges that we go through. And I remember former CJ, in all his speeches, he really emphasizes the need of implementing the Constitution. Then somebody also mentioned teach values from young age. I totally agree with that. When you are born in a family and your parents really take time to teach you the values from the young age, I'm sure even when you grow up, you'll not depart from those ways or from those values that were instilled in you when you are very young. Somebody also mentioned love one another. Really? Love is what will put us together. Love is what is going to break the barriers between ourselves. Love is everything. In this world, we are given choices to make. Either choose love or fear. So if you choose love, then automatically trust will trickle in. If you choose fear, violence will definitely come. Mistrust will come in, and you'll not be able to do things that will bring people together. So mine is to say that I agree completely with you, and we need to really build our social network. Somebody said in this Metimeter that you have realized, you have witnessed negative ethnicity in school. You even said churches, and some said workplace. So if we are able to build the social network in every place we are, I'm sure this will try to help mend this situation. And I'm happy really with the chairman of Hesabika, Mr. Wadhanju. What you are doing is really towards building a cohesive society through these leaders we are having here. Seeing themselves as one, doing a lot of activities together. So it is breaking that barrier. And I tell you, there is nothing as good as having strength in diversity. Let's have somebody coming with this, another person coming with this, and all that. We shall be able to build a strong network, a strong social cohesion, and our country will not be the same. So this is also a challenge, and I think for parents, a challenge we are facing is that sometimes these parents nowadays, they are very, very busy. And I've seen a lot of videos in the social media where a parent is busy looking at the phone when the child needs attention. People are not talking to one another. People are so busy with their gadgets. They are not even, when they go to the dining to eat, they are not even eating together. One is busy here, another one is busy there. I mean, what time are we finishing so that we can continue with our social media? So we have to look at all that and ensure that now we spend family time together. We speak with our children or children speak with your parents, children speak with your parents, so that you even understand your origins. You understand how your parents have been able to go through. You can be encouraged in one thing or another, so that now you don't just end up alone. You need to be taught these core values. Their parents taught them the values. Our parents were taught by their parents the values, and that's why they are there. They are how they are. So this thing should go on. In the school, can we be together? Can we not? Can we stop favorism so that we have learners mixing up in classes? We don't segregate those ones who are maybe performing better than the others, or those ones who are coming from a certain community. You know, let's appreciate one another, learn together, and we shall be able to break this chain of ethnicity that we are having. In the universities, it's the same thing. And NCIC is trying to do this a lot. When we do the ethnic audit, we go to universities, we find out what is the tribe of the vice chancellor? What is the tribe of the registrars? Where does most of the lecturers come from? So we want to see a lot of mixing. We don't have in Nairobi University just dominantly Kikuyus or another dominant group. We need to have a mixture of ethnic groups together. I'm happy in one of the ethnic audits we did as NCIC, we pointed out our findings to the university, and the next time we went for the ethnic audit, we realized that they have employed a person from a minority group. I think that is a very, very minor group in Kenya, and he has been put to one of the support staff in Kenyatta University. So that is what we need to see, so that we can remove that other person from wherever they are. We can bring them here, and people can learn about their background and what they believe in, and they can work together to promote one another, so that even the disparity that we are having can end. So that is what I would say. And in conclusion, I would say that we need to have a political system that uphold cohesion and integration. And how do we do that? By shunning away from mobilization along the ethnic lines, by using ideologies, by using our values, what we believe in, to garner support from others. Let's shun away from, this is my person, I need to just vote that person. Once we break it, then we shall all be very, very well. We also need to take the pride. We can have, Kenya has more than 42 tribes. That is a plus. Diversity is our strength. So we need to enhance that more and more. And another thing, we need to also have meritocracy dominating our employment processes. Let's not look at people coming from this and this. Let's look at how a person is experienced, the capability of a person, the skills of a person, and not look at where this person is coming from. So that is what I would say, and I will want to challenge you youths. Somebody mentioned as we were starting that the total number of youth in Kenya is 64%. 64% is quite a huge, huge number. I mean, you can transform this nation the way you want, and you should drive the change in Kenya and not allow to be used. We know, yes, there is a challenge of youths having employment and what have you, but are you going to wait for that, for a politician to bring you 500 shillings in after a long time, so that you go and disturb others, or to maybe cause chaos in a place, so that people are made to be in fear and to elect people who are not even of value? So really, the young people, you have the numbers. and you have the vigor, you have the strength, I'm sure you can be able to change. Now that you have been exposed, now that you know through this Hesabika Trust, I'm sure you can be the change that we want to see. I wish to end there, and I wish to tell you that may the peace of Lord be with you, the grace of God be with you. May you be filled with love, empathy, kindness, joyness, and peace that is beyond human understanding. Thank you very much. I return to you, Chairman Wadhanga. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mbugua, for that wonderful presentation. Very, very incisive. My name is Wilson. I'm the coordinator for this program, and we are so delighted to have you. We want to transition to an open forum Q&A. We will not have a lot of time for that, but we will take in as many questions as possible. And Rachel Kitonyo, who is a trustee of Hesabika, will be doing that. As Rachel comes, I just want to read one of the texts from a participant. He's called Frank, and he says, "I, coming from a marginalized community, from a community quoted as a marginalized county, I attest that you, Hesabika, are doing a great job in empowering young leaders like me." And then he says, "It's now upon us to take the mantle to the local settings, to our fellow youths." This is Frank Leseketeti from Samburu County. Quite an encouraging comment there. So I want to encourage you, all of us. You can also put your questions on the chat platform, even as we take the first round of hands. And Rachel, I welcome you to take it from here. Rachel?
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Dr. Skitter Mbugua. If you would like to ask a question, you can raise your hand, or you can just open your microphone and speak, or you can type in the chat. I think we'll take them in batches of 3 so that Dr. Mbugua can respond in that way. Any questions or comments? While I wait for people to pluck up their courage, I'd just like to ask Dr. Skitter. I think part of the problem in Kenya is we do not have honest conversations, and part of the Agenda 4 items, and which I think got overtaken because we dealt first with the more immediate fires, were issues of historical injustice, and how can we create a culture where we can have open and conversations about things that have happened in the past, things that have caused bitterness, without either one side feeling defensive and trying to cover up what happened in history, so that we are able to move on.
Perhaps, Rachel, you can also take Bonnie's question so that Dr. Skitter can handle 2 or 3 at a time.
Bonnie, go ahead.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you, Dr. Terry, for such a presentation. It's eye-opening. Now, among some of the solutions that you suggested, you mentioned the implementation of the Constitution, intermarriages, strengthening institution, political system that upholds national cohesion. So, what strategy can we use, to achieve a political system that upholds national cohesion. These are suggestions, but how do we now work them out? What could be some of the action points? Something like intermarriages. We don't have something that would institutionalize that. I don't know, how do we go about some of the solutions that you've given us? Thank you.
I'll also ask Okanda to ask this question, and then Dr. Skitter can respond.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. Maybe you confirm if you're able to hear me well. Where I am, my network is not really stable.
We can hear you very well, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Mbugua, for that candid conversation and for the statistics that you have articulated so clearly. My question is, we are in the middle of a country that is still ailing from the impact of the 2007. I think in as much as it looks like things are well, things are running on well, but we see the impact of negative ethnicity, resurrecting anytime we are having an election. And right now we are nearing to the election, the 2022 election. How do you strike a conversation with people who are ailing from within? Like, especially, I'll be specific, mostly with the youth. I work really closely with the young people, with the youth. A huge majority of people who I have ever seen them or just engage them in the question or the topic of our country and how we can work together, fostering what we call youth and governance. Most of the time, young people are still holding to the effects, or maybe are still holding up to what happened to them or what happened in their community. Someone saw the dad dying, someone saw the mom being killed, someone saw the sister being shot dead, and people are still ailing. And we see this the impact of negative ethnicity, having its power during most of the time during an election. Now we are heading to the election. I just want to hear you. How do you strike a conversation with people who are still ailing? Thank you.
Dr. Mbugua, you could start off with those three.
Thank you very much, Rachel Kitonyo, for that and leading the Q&A. First, I'll start with your question. You said after all the historical injustices, and then how can we create a culture for open conversation? Yes, there are so many issues that the country is grappling with. And when we have this candid and open conversation like we are doing now, we are opening it up, and people are learning really on how things have been moving. We have seen very well that so many committees, so many task force given opportunities to look into a problem, like the Doing or Learn report, but nothing has been done so far about it. So I think it is the issue of possibly those ones who are in leadership that they don't want to open those boxes because of the unknown fears. But I think it really depends now on us, so that we are able to guide the conversation. I have mentioned that youth right now are 64% in number. That's a very huge number. And even in the by-elections that were conducted recently, the number of youths that are, the huge percentage of the people who went to vote were the youths. So these elderly people are nowhere, and we can be able to really start these conversations amongst themselves so that we can be able to discuss the way forward. Yes, the injustices have been there, but how do we go about it? How do we soldier on? Are we going to dwell on the past and keep on talking about the land and land and land? What can we do with our youths to guide their thinking so that they can do something that is more innovative, something that is more practical? There are many people who do not even have parcels of land. Like, for example, you go to other countries, by the way, the land is owned by the country, not even by individuals. Okay, can we look at our our own working? Can we start conversating around that and see how we can be able to strengthen one another? Can we build, ourselves in such a way that we don't get used during the elections by the selfish politicians, because they're there. They want to use the youths. There are many. They're very energetic and go. So I would say that we start talking amongst ourselves. We don't have to wait until we have money to go to expensive hotels. This conversation is enough. This conversation can start to make our minds to start thinking, to follow a trajectory that will guide us somewhere. Then we had Boniface Mudhoni, who asked about, how can we have talked about the implementation of the Constitution and what that, how is it practical, the political system, what can be done exactly to change that? We have seen the small changes that is happening. I mean, wananchi deciding not to vote the political parties because the political parties are ethnic groups and they have decided to vote an individual. So I would say that if we can be able to follow the facts that are going to assist us move ahead, then that is what we need, the path we need to follow. Let's take actions that are going to put leaders in place, the leaders who are not looking at, they are competent enough, of value. They can lead by example. We know all of them. So why can't we change this trend and ensure that it's not a political party really, but it is the value system that we want to bring across? About the implementation of the Constitution, the institutions that have already been set are supposed to be able to look into that. And what can be able to make this institution implement the Constitution is the leadership we put in those offices. Yeah, so that is what I would want to say. That is what we can do as individuals. There's something we can do as individuals, and there's something that the leadership can do. But remember, it is you people who put the leaders in place, and they are the people who lead now all these processes, all these structures, all these systems to be in place. Now, the third one was from Okanda Eugene. And he says that actually it is a time that people are ailing really from the impact of the negative ethnicity. And it is very difficult, he says, to strike a conversation with people who are wailing from inside. I think it has been so difficult for him. For me, what I'll encourage you, Okanda, and even when you start conversations, yes, people have gone through a lot, but what is this that we can start? Yes, there is somebody else who can do the other thing. What about you? You have gone to college. I know you have great knowledge. You have great insight on what you have been able to learn. How would you encourage these people to go about to change their situation? Yes, possibly as an individual, it might be difficult to get a person out of a situation. Maybe he lost the father during this time, but during the time of violence. But I would tell you, yaliyopita imepita. So what can we do? How can we make sure that it doesn't happen again? How can we make sure that we bring calm to this person so that this person can start doing his chores and be able to progress on? As simple as even getting an MCA in position, for example. Now that we are talking so much about politics, let me also give my responses so much about politics. As simple as MCA, people should be able to not look at the ethnicity of a person, but look at the values of this person, or the what he can bring on the table. But you see now the problem is that a majority is that, let me vote this one so that this one can give me a job. So when we do that, that is the time we are getting it wrong, all of us. So it is good to strike this conversation and be open enough. It has happened, but how do we ensure that it doesn't happen again? How do we ensure that we do not continue losing our people? How do we ensure that our children are of value? Because you realize that even in some places, we have lost our youths. They are really drinking a lot. They are not even sighing children, I would say. Yeah? The young women do not have husbands in the house. So these are the things that we need to start having conversation, and candid conversation and open conversation to one another, that this one, yes, happened because of A, B, C, D. Going forward, this is what we need to look at and be watchful enough. Thank you so much, Rachel.
I'll take two more from the chat. So the first was, how do we deal with ethnicity in the church? And the second is, does NCIC have a ranking of the best practices that enhance national cohesion in Kenya? Dr. Skitter, you can go ahead and answer those.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rachel, for the question. Ethnicity in church. It's the leadership again. It is really, really the leadership. And for example, if we look at Catholic, I wouldn't say that Catholic has that challenge, because you realize Catholic it's a global church. It is not a local church. And even those people who go to Catholic, they are from different ethnic grounds, and even their leadership is, they select leaders depending on their set out criteria. You look at other churches, it's an ethnic church. For example, you go to a place and this place is in a specific area, they even preach in that language. So that is where the challenge is, but it is a high time. And I think this conversation, when it goes much forward, people can also realize that a challenge has been found, that there is ethnicity in churches and people are discriminated, maybe depending on where they come from. The leadership is given by this, but I wouldn't want to say so much about the church, because even the form of the church has really changed a lot. Really, it is somebody's heart. Somebody's heart is what matters. Church cannot take you anywhere. Church will not take you to heaven. Church will not make you a good person. But when you read your Bible, you can be able to choose your choices. Forget about leadership. Just get to be focused on what you want to pick, why you go to the church in the first place. NCIC, does it have any ranking on best practices? We speak a lot, and one of our functions as NCIC is to advise the government on what it should be done in terms of policy, to be able to ensure that people are more cohesive and people are more integrated in every way. So one thing, we lead by example. When you go to our institution, you'll be able to realize that we are a mixture of people from different ethnic groups. And then we have been publishing information about institutions that are doing the best practices, like their ethnic audit is in line with the constitution and what is accepted. And those ones that have not been compliant, we actually sit with them and advise them on the need to be able to balance, so that they have people from various communities represented in their institutions. Otherwise, we do a lot of programs, a lot of research that are looking at the cohesion in the society, what is happening currently. And we are seeing there are so many gangs that are being formed. Every area has got a gang being formed. Like in Mombasa, we have some young groups of gangs coming up, and we have done a lot of publication on this, and there are so many publications on around. And we saw even the nation destroying some of the or terrorist groups, all that. So all that because they affect cohesion in the country. There are some things that we go to rebuke, and then we advise the nation on the steps that needs to be taken. Thank you very much.
Okay. This is not a question, this is just a comment from Jamil that to defeat the ethnicity monster requires us to be consciously aware of situations and opinions that promote such thinking, and then to fight that kind of thinking consciously. I see one more message that NCIC is only our soundboard, the responsibility lies with us. Okay. Since I see no further questions, thank you very much, Dr. Skitter, and I hand over back to Wilson.
Thank you once again. Let's appreciate Dr. Skitter Mbugua. I know that our claps may be discordant, but we can give her a clap of this kind. It works well. Thank you very much, Daktari. We are so grateful for sparing time to be with us today. And I can assure you that you are speaking to some of the most motivated people in this country, and people who we are counting on as a part of the vanguard of translating concern into action, especially including this issue of national cohesion. So we know that we'll be interacting more with you and the work you do in the coming days. And once again, on behalf of Hesabika Trust, thank you so much. And thank you, Rachel. Let's also appreciate Rachel for facilitating the session again. Thank you, Rachel. And also Dr. Joshua Adhanga, who handled the earlier part when I was persecuted by Zoom. Let's appreciate him for a good job. Thank you.